The morning sun rose softly over the quiet suburb, its light spilling gently across the white fences and polished cars that lined Maplewood Avenue. Yet inside one freshly painted house, where the air still smelled faintly of new paint and expensive polish, something dark, quiet, and irreversible was unfolding. The kind of moment that changes everything, not with a shout, but with silence. The kind of heartbreak that doesn't scream, it just lingers in the air like smoke. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, please take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Vibes. Your one click helps stories like this remind the world that hearts can heal, love can return, and light can find its way through the darkest doors. Inside the living room stood an old man named Arthur Hale, a retired carpenter with trembling hands, his once strong shoulders bent with age but not yet broken. His eyes, the color of fading sky, shimmered with unshed tears as he clutched two worn suitcases, each one packed with the remains of a lifetime. Faded photographs, a shaving brush, a cracked pocket watch, and the small wooden bird his son had carved for him when he was just 8 years old. That same son, Marcus, now stood before him, tall, proud, handsome, his jaw clenched like a man holding back something too painful to admit. His new wife, Serena, stood slightly behind him, her arms crossed, her smile a faint curve of satisfaction. She had won. "It's time you go, father," Marcus said, his voice low but heavy, the kind of tone that pretends to be calm but trembles under its own weight. Arthur looked at his son, the same boy he had once carried on his shoulders through summer fairs, the boy who used to fall asleep on his chest listening to bedtime stories. His lips quivered, but no words came. His trembling hand on the suitcase said everything. The silence that followed was louder than any argument. And just like that, love, the love that once built that home brick by brick, was replaced with silence, pride, and betrayal. Arthur turned and stepped out into the morning light, his old shoes crunching on the driveway gravel. Each step away from the house felt like walking away from his own heartbeat. The neighbors peeked through curtains, some whispered, others looked away. It was a world where people watched pain but rarely stopped it. He had built that home with his bare hands, every nail, every plank, every room carrying a memory. But now it stood behind him, belonging to a son who had forgotten that love is not something you outgrow. He walked for hours that day, his back aching, his breath shallow, until he reached the town park, the same one where he had once taken Marcus to feed ducks and fly kites. He sat on a bench under a flickering streetlight, his suitcase beside him, his heart heavier than both combined. As the sun faded and the cold crept in, Arthur whispered to no one, "Where do old fathers go when their homes no longer want them?" Days turned into weeks. Marcus filled the house with laughter, dinner parties, and plans for the future. Serena decorated every wall, replacing old photos of family with framed quotes about ambition and success. They told themselves it was a new beginning, modern, fresh, free of burdens. Serena called Arthur the past. Marcus tried not to think about it, convincing himself that his father was better off somewhere peaceful, maybe a nursing home where someone else could care for him. But at night, when the laughter faded and the house fell quiet, Marcus could still hear the echo of his father's cane tapping down the hall. Then things began to change. The first sign was subtle, a business deal Marcus had been counting on fell through. Then another. Calls stopped coming, clients withdrew, and in the mirror each morning, his reflection looked older, wearier, guiltier. Serena grew colder, her affection thinning into irritation. "Maybe you're cursed," she said one night, her voice sharp. "Ever since your father left, nothing's gone right." Her words cut through him. He didn't argue because deep down, he believed her. Guilt has a way of planting itself quietly, then growing roots through every part of your soul. He began dreaming of his father, always standing in the rain, looking back at him, silent. Marcus would wake up drenched in sweat, the sound of thunder echoing like his father's heartbeat. One night, after another bitter argument, Marcus grabbed his car keys and stormed out. Rain fell hard against the windshield, turning the world into a blur of silver and black. He drove aimlessly, his thoughts a storm louder than the one outside. Then, through the sheets of rain, he saw it, a frail figure walking along the roadside, hunched over, clutching two old suitcases. Marcus's breath caught. He slammed the brakes, heart hammering. It was his father. Arthur turned slowly, rain dripping from his hair, his face pale and thin. For a moment, they just stared at each other, father and son, separated not by miles but by mistakes. Marcus stepped out of the car, his knees weak, his voice trembling. "Father," but before he could move closer, something unexplainable happened. The rain slowed, each drop seeming to hang in midair. A soft golden light spread through the darkness, wrapping them in warmth that felt otherworldly. Standing a few feet away was a man dressed in white, his face calm, his presence radiant yet gentle. His eyes held the kind of peace that silences fear. When he spoke, his voice was soft but carried the weight of eternity. "You threw away love," he said, looking at Marcus, "the kind that raised you, sheltered you, and forgave you before you even knew what forgiveness meant." Marcus fell to his knees, his tears mixing with the rain that had now turned to gold. He didn't need to ask who the man was. His heart already knew. Jesus turned to Arthur, placing a hand on his shoulder. The old man's body straightened, his face softening, his pain lifting as though replaced by something eternal. "Your heart was broken," Jesus said, "but your love never failed. And love that endures will always rise again." Then he looked back at Marcus. "A home without kindness is a house made of dust. Go make right what you destroyed, and let your heart learn what it means to love again." The light faded. The rain returned, and the world was still. Marcus ran to his father, falling into his arms. "Forgive me," he sobbed, his voice cracking like the boy he used to be. Arthur's eyes glistened, not with anger, but compassion. "A son's heart can be lost," he whispered. "But it can also be found." They drove home in silence, a different kind of silence this time, one filled with grace. When they reached the house, Serena stood in the doorway, disbelief written across her face. But Marcus didn't hesitate. "This is my father," he said firmly. "And this is his home. If that's a problem, then I'll leave with him." Serena's silence said everything. Within days, she packed her bags and left. And so began a quieter, humbler chapter, but one filled with peace. Marcus's business began to recover, not by luck, but by renewed purpose. Every morning, he prayed. Every Sunday, he went to church. He stopped chasing wealth and started building something stronger, forgiveness. Arthur grew stronger, too. His laughter returned, soft but genuine, and the house once again carried the warmth of shared meals, quiet prayers, and simple joy. Sometimes, Marcus would catch his father looking at him with a small smile. Not of pride, but of peace. One evening, as the sun set and poured golden light through the window, Marcus looked at his father and said softly, "I thought I was building a new life, but I was actually breaking the only one that mattered." Arthur reached out, his hand trembling but steady enough to rest over his son's. "Now," he whispered, "you're building it right. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Vibes. Your small act helps keep stories of love, forgiveness, and redemption alive in a world that desperately needs them." Before we end, tell us in the comments, what lesson did this story teach you today? As the last light faded outside their window, Marcus realized something beautiful. That no matter how far a heart strays, when love returns, it brings heaven's light back home.